everyone. So I'm going to hand this off to you, Mike. Go right ahead.
Right. Thank you, Jane, and thank you for that music there to get us started. And welcome everyone to our VILS IT monthly meeting for November. Our focus for today is on management best practices that builds on our work together from our September and our October meetings. In our session today, our Verizon Innovative Learning Schools team of myself, Jane, Carla, Steve, Nicole, and Elliot will lead this session. If you have any questions during the session, please put them in the chat, and then we'll answer them at that moment, or we'll come back to those later on at the end of our meeting today. For our sessions, we do have one digital handout, and this will be shared with you in the chat. Again, if it's not already there, please open it and scroll down to today's November 2nd session, where we have the resources and the links. And please feel free to bookmark that for future reference, because we do have lots of resources there that you can always use when we're not meeting as well. Our session outcomes act to guide our work for today. They include the exploring the data to inform management and inventory best practices, and gleaning ideas to support your ongoing success in your schools and your district. To make the most of our time together, please consider our community norms. Please be prepared to share your ideas in the chat, or to come off mute even and share those with us. We also want to be mindful. We want you to be kind to yourself and to others, and please be present as much as possible, as we do realize you do have other issues that may be distracting you during this time. And consider the one of these that you will focus on and capture your intent as we move forward. In our agenda, we have a few things that we're going to focus on, and the primary one is IT management with device care and the inventory process that builds on the 30 and 60-day items that we've talked about previously in September and October. And we're going to also share some 90-day items to consider to ensure that we are supporting our devices and our learners as well as possible. At the end, during our closing, we'll discuss the next steps, and we'll have you fill out the attendance form at that time. So we'll share the link to that later on during this call.
All right, thanks, Mike. And for our inclusion activity, we're actually going to do it similar to what we did last time. We're going to leverage our VILS Academy and our VILS community. So you have a link there in the chat, and it is for the Okta or VILS Launchpad Okta platform. I'm going to go ahead and put that there for you. And basically what we're going to do today, as we did last time, is we're going to go into that community forum. This is an opportunity for us to collaborate with folks around the nation and your colleagues all over when they're near and far. And each week we do have items that are posted to get us thinking and collaborating. Also, good opportunity for just in general, seek support from your colleagues too. So here, you probably have already clicked on that link there. That's number 1 in your digital handout. And once you entered Okta, you went into our VILS Launchpads powered by Okta. You went into the VILS Academy and then went into our VILS community. And you'll notice yesterday there was question of the week, and it was posted there. So over to the right-hand column of that community, scroll down, it's number 1 or 2 there for us. I'm going to go over here so you can see it as well. There it is. You can see one person already has responded. And so go ahead and reply. What are the 3 areas you look at when determining the impact of an action, plan, or program? So take a moment and respond. If you do have any questions, put them in the chat for us. If you don't have access to the community, make sure that you contact your VILS team point of contact. All right, whenever you're ready, go ahead. And even if you have your number 1 and number 2 there, maybe not all 3, but go ahead and click enter. What is it that you really focus on? What do you look at when determining the impact of an action plan or program? And that also depends on perspective. Are you at the teacher level, the coach level, principal, district leader? All righty. Yeah, right there. So you notice I had to do a little refresh. So we got impact on the system process or changes in staff actions. Yeah. And so kind of really, Neva taking a look at yours versus Burley up at the top there, thinking of, okay, and those staff actions. And if we take both of yours together, we think about now, how do those then ultimately impact student outcomes, right? What are the students experiencing? Because we are all about students at the center. So absolutely. Fantastic. All righty. So anyone else, feel free to add your ideas in there. You can come off, add them into our chat if you don't have access to the VILS community right now. We're going to go ahead and honor your time. Thanks so much for taking part. Feel free to hit enter and get your thoughts out there for our community. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and take us on to the next slide. And as you noticed in our last IT monthly meeting and in the others, we are actually focusing on our 6 elements of success. Directly relates to your portfolios and to your daily work in the school district. So this session is going to focus on element 1, which is leadership teams, since it is the partnership between school and IT leadership that supports successful management and use of devices. We're also going to focus on number 4, consistent access, with the processes and practices to document and monitor devices. And then element 6, which is equity as a mindset, since it's at the forefront of our work, which allows students and families access anytime, anywhere to devices and Wi-Fi for learning. So thinking about that as we go through this, what evidence do you have? What thoughts are coming to mind as you think about these elements and the work that you do in partnership with the PL and the IT side in your school district and at the schools itself? And Steve, I'm going to go ahead and hand off to you.
Thank you, Jane. And as a reminder, one of the things that we like to do is highlight some best practices, things that not everything that we suggest or demonstrate may fit in your situation, but we highlight things that we think are a good help for most folks. So keep that in mind as we're going through some of our areas today. When we look at IT management best practices, just as a reminder, let you know, we have toolkits that we've put together for kind of all of our platforms, including our one-to-one schools and our hotspot schools. So a lot of these things will be documented there. Today, what we're going to do is kind of look at some of our data dashboards, and that could impact consistent access, because as you look at the data, you're trying to decide, do all of your students have access? How are families embracing that or not embracing it? And then, that equity is a mindset piece, thinking about are the practices you're supporting and doing providing for equity across the board. So let's go ahead and flip to the next slide.
All righty, fantastic. It looks like we're about to do some navigation filtering and some information updates. So fantastic.
Yeah. So you're going to see so there's 4 dashboards really that I will make mention of, and we're going to focus most of our time on the first one, the device data usage, and that, just as a reminder, that only reports data that goes through the LTE or the cellular service on your devices, if they're hotspots or if they're iPads or Chromebooks. So if students are only using Wi-Fi, that data is not reported here. That's one point to remember. And another one really is, who has the access. You can see there, we have those listed there. Some other dashboards that we have access besides the data usage are claims dashboard, and that's a kind of a work in progress for us right now. So on the claims dashboard, we have multiple vendors providing data to us. So last year we kind of pulled that together, and right now the new dashboard on claims for this year that lets you really look at kind of where you stand is in the works. So we'll be able to reveal a brand new one very, very shortly. But it's good to keep an eye on your claims. You don't want to not be taking advantage of it. And then you need to know when there's excessive issues, if that's an instructional thing, to go back and work on digital citizenship or care of the devices. Next, there's a dashboard for our TIMO, and that's primarily a professional learning piece. You do the observations in the classrooms and see how that tech is being used, and you can see who has access to those. And then finally, the fourth dashboard there is really our teacher technology surveys. And so again, that one lets you reflect on that professional learning, things that have happened throughout the school year. So I think there were some questions in the chat before I move on to the demonstration. Is that all been addressed?
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's one of those questions you're going to be able to address
sure
right there in
is.
the data, which is great.
Okay.
And
Great.
we'll make sure we guide you towards that.
Great. So yeah, let's go ahead and go to the next slide then. So as Jane demonstrated a moment ago, that our VILS Launchpad, which is the Okta tool, we put all the resources and things that are available to you right there. So once Jane is logged into Okta, you can see there is a tile that's called VILS Data Dashboard. So the one I'm going to show you today is the data usage. So once she clicks on that tile for data usage, you can see she's got demonstrated on the graphic below. There's a couple of dashboards that are available. One is the device protection claims 21-22. And like I said, once we have the 22-23 one available, that'll be updated live through that dashboard for you. But then the device data usage dashboard is where we're going to take a look at today. Yes. So as Jane, if you go ahead and advance.
Sure. And one little tidbit just before we move on is I'm going to show that dashboard. Just wanted to have you keep the question in mind. How does the data usage dashboard inform inclusive technology use for students and families at school and home? And really just to think about that idea that access for these dashboards is specific on your VILS role. And so you can see there in red when we talk about the claims dashboard that's going to be coming out this month, and then go into data usage, which we're doing now. These are the roles in your district that should have access to it. And we'll talk in a moment about if they don't, what do you do? But it is on digital handout number 2 is where you can get access if you need to get back into our VILS Launchpad and Okta. So I'm going to go ahead, Steve, had us do. I'm going to go here to the dashboard. So this is what your dashboard looks like. There's that button, and I click right on over, and it gets me to those two. I actually favorited those. Thanks, Steve, for that tip. I appreciated that.
Yeah.
And now we'll go right into data device usage.
Yes. And so we're going to highlight and look at one of our school districts. This happens to be the data for Lawrence Public Schools. And I can tell from the filters at the top. And I like to highlight the filters that are there because many times people may draw incorrect conclusions from the data if the filter is not correct. So you look across the top at what your filters are. So we're looking at the Lawrence Public Schools, we're looking at the 2022 school year, and we're looking at the data for September. So while I'm there on the filters, if you would, Jane, just click on the September for a moment. Notice in the drop down, you're going to see multiple months there. And the months that we have data available currently, you can see. And I just want to point out, see how the check mark is next to September? The filters work in such a way that if you click a different month, like let's say May, it does not remove the check for September. And now what you're looking at is kind of a compilation of 2 months worth of data. So when I spoke a moment ago about drawing incorrect conclusions, I just wanted to point that out. One of my colleagues that had a very big role in doing this, his name is Marcelino. Marcelino is always pointing that out and is concerned that, we look at accurate data on this. So now that we've kind of clarified all the filters that we have available, one other thing I'll point out, if you'll click on the Lawrence Public Schools on the filter, notice I'm showing all their schools, but if you were interested in drilling down to just one of the schools, you could highlight just the school you wanted to look at and get more detailed data about that school. So if that gives you an overview on the filters, just wanted to kind of point that out in case you've not been in there in a moment. Everybody needs a little refresher from time to time. So now what we're seeing now is kind of a redesign. As this fall, they've kind of updated, looked at some of the data. You're going to see on the left, you're going to see kind of 3, I call them tabs. They're not really tabs, but they're kind of areas. One is the devices. And that's what Jane is looking at for us right now. All the devices that we have. in this filter. The second area or tab is really consumption. So the first one is hardware. This one is your data usage, or how much data you're consuming. And then finally, that third one, usage report. Many people aren't aware of this, but this is the kind of the raw data that shows the mobile device and the amount of data and all of that. And this is something, if you wanted to manipulate the data on your own, I know one of my districts does that. You can go up to the you can go right there and export that data, and then you can add it to other tools if you want. So I point out that's what that usage report is. It's kind of like the raw data. Okay. So now let's go back to devices. We'll look at, I'm going to look at the top 3 circular icons that we have there. And these are really broken down. If you hover over the title, Jane, it'll tell you what you're looking at. So this is all of the devices that have 0 data. And you say, what does 0 data mean, Steve? Well, 0 data means that they used not even a single packet of data went out over the cellular service on that iPad during the month of September. Okay, so kind of think about that one for a moment. Not one packet of data went out. What does that mean? So as I talk about best practices and how you interpret some of this data and use it with your schools, when I look at that 18%, what does that mean? Well, remember, first of all, you've got 5% of your devices as a buffer. They're available for loaners, or if somebody's device had to be sent out for repair or whatever, or day users. So 5% of your devices are already going to be at 0 data for the most part. So as you look at that, you say, well, then my remaining devices, what does that mean? Does that mean, do I have students that have somehow disabled their cellular plan and they just don't have cellular? And I'll say that dreaded PUK code, if a lot of you haven't come across that, be thankful, but know that kids can do things and that disables their data on their device. Another thing is maybe they're lost or they're damaged where they're not working, or the teachers, maybe they're not requiring any work where the students use the device at home. So I just kind of point all of those out as potential things. Sometimes it's good things. Maybe they have really good Wi-Fi at home and they don't need to use the cellular, because we give this to every student in the school. So just ask those kinds of questions as you look at the data. When I work with a school district, I look at that first one of 0 data. I go to the far right one, then the ones that have consumed more than 30 gig. And I think we had a question earlier asking about that. Just realize that the way Verizon sets this up, we have premium, we really have unlimited data, but we have 30 gig of premium data. So once you use up your 30 gig of premium data in a month, then you become a lower priority. So on your cell tower, if you're fighting with 100 other users that you're going through, you're going to see very slow, very throttled data usage. But if you're in maybe a rural area or there's not many other users, it's in the middle of the night or something, and there's not many other cell users on that tower, you're going to see nearly the same speed. So I say that to help explain. So again, if you've got a lot of users that are consuming more than 30 gig, that usually is a concern to say, well, what are they doing to consume so much? Is it a lot of multimedia things? Are they watching videos? What are they doing? So just point those 2 bookends out. And then in the middle is really where we want to see everybody. If you look at this example, we got 81% of the devices are using more than 0, but less than 30. So that's kind of that good number. If you think, I tell people, think about the bell curve, you want to really be in that middle of that. So that's a great place to be. Below that, there's a couple of 3 other columns. The one in the middle that Jane is on right now is a perfect example. When I said there were 0.8% of the users consuming more than 30 gig, what does that mean? Well, we see right here the users. So the very top user is using 38 gig in that month. And 8 gig over the 30 is not a big deal. And you see even beyond that, it's like 31 and then 30.8 and on down the line. So there's not a large amount of excessive data use. If you wanted to know who that is, though, it's just as Jane did. You can click on the user, brings up a detail screen. And on that detail, you can find the mobile device number and then the school that it's at. And you could look in your asset inventory system to say, okay, this mobile device number was assigned to little Stevie Brown. Well, maybe he shouldn't be consuming so much data. Let's have a talk with Steve or find out what's going on. So that's the kind of thing, again, as a IT person or somebody supporting the school, I would probably want to ask those kinds of questions when I look at the data. Okay. The last thing I'll point out on this screen is the SIM swaps. People sometimes don't comprehend what that is. That means that a student took the SIM card out of the device, put it in a cell phone. So you can see there's 2 SIM swaps. They took them out of the in this case, Chromebook, and they put it in a Samsung A52 phone. So those are ones that we would disable, or you would go check with those students, see about retrieving the SIM card from them. Okay, so that was my deep dive on the data. Let's really quickly look at this consumption piece. So this graph is kind of over time. So it kind of shows the amount of gigabytes that you have consumed each month. And I'll point out, when we started this, many users might have a December entry. Many others start with February, depending on where you were. But you're going to see the amount of gigabytes that were consumed. So you can see there's a kind of a tail off. And notice June and July, there's not a data point above it. We don't actually collect data usage in June and July. So they just smooth the curve. You can see August, they hadn't really begun with their devices in distribution. September, you can see an uptick in the amount of data they're using. And then since the billing period ended on the 28th, which was, 5 days ago now, I would say within about 10 more days, we should have the October data, and we could see how this trend continues. So anyway, I would look at that to kind of see where your usage trends are. Now, if you just scroll down a little bit more, Jane, I'll just point out, if you are interested in, that distribution of data, you can see it reflected in those charts. And then if you scroll down just one more little bit, Jane, there is the average per device. So if I looked at March, their peak, 6.4 gig per device was their average. That's pretty high. That's a good average. That's healthy, okay? And then if you look along the lines, it kind of tail off again. June and July, we don't really have data usage. And then as we started back in September, their average per device is 1.8 gig. And now finally, if you scroll to the very bottom of this report, you're going to see where your schools stack up against each other and where your district average is and where you stack up against all other schools in that cohort. This is not all of VILS, but just within your cohort. And since this happens to be cohort 8, I can look at how they compare with other cohort 8 schools. Okay, so I hope that data dive is helpful. That's the kind of things as an IT person that I would look at, how I would interpret that data, and how I would use it. Again, you may want to use it slightly differently, but that's an example of what I would do. Were there any other items in the chat that haven't been addressed yet?
Oh, so someone did say I don't have this on my dashboard either.
Okay.
And so that's a great opportunity here. We, inside of the VILS Launchpad, there is a support button for help right there. And so if you do not have one of the dashboards and you know that you are a user who's to have the dashboards, please make sure and put in that help ticket. Again, here is the VILS dashboard down here in the bottom left corner. Put in that ticket to make sure that you have access as well. So thanks so much for that. Are any other questions surfaced for you? I know that we answered a couple of them in the chat already. So feel free, quickly come off mute or add to the chat. And then if not, we're going to move forward so we can get you into a few more hot topics. Okay, do we need to tell you when there are SIM swaps, or do you automatically deactivate them? Good question.
So Jane, we do monitor that, and we will suspend the data plans when we see those.
Yeah, and I know typically as we meet with you, we do, in our weekly or monthly meetings, we do talk about it and say, hey, remember, these are coming up, and we will give you a heads up as well, but they do get deactivated. Yes. Yeah, good question. All righty, fantastic. Okay, any other pressing thoughts? Please feel free as we continue forward to just ask as you go. We want to make sure that this meets your needs today. So thank you so much, everyone. So let's head on over to our device care hot topics, and Nicole, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jane. Thanks, Steve. You did a wonderful job with the deep dive. All right. So at this point, our next section is on device care and hot topics. Now, our focus is on element 4, consistent access. And when you have a very accessible and robust, clear plan of how kids will have consistent access, it goes hand in hand with look at the 6th element, equity as a mindset. So those two work so well together. And when they do, you end up having some really powerful learning for students in the building and when they go home with families and caregivers. All right, I'm ready to move on. All right, so thank you, Jane. As you know, our implementation guides support you on your VILS journey, both with professional learning and IT resources for success. There is reference in the guides, whichever one of these guides that your school has, your district has, to the data dashboards, as well as the toolkits that have the IT 30/60/90 with hot topics. Now, for your future reference, the links to the guides can be found in your digital handout, number 4, or the link that is going in the chat. All right, are we ready to move? Thank you, Jane. I love it. All right, so check this, colleagues. For our time today, let's first take a moment and look back at what you all identified from the 30/60 list as your top 10 pain points. Check out number 1. We all have dealt with number 1. So look at those 10 pain points that you all gave us from our September meeting. We're going to take 30 seconds. I'm going to get quiet. Here's your question, colleagues. Which do you feel has improved and is going well? I want you to think about, of those 10 items, these are 10 pain points that you all identified at our last monthly meeting. Which one has improved and is going well? 30 seconds.
Add your number to the chat. Let's see. Oh, 6 and 7. Okay, that's improved. Awesome.
I would love to be able to hear from someone, because the chat we have, parents won't sign paperwork. That's gotten better. Elizabeth, I don't know you. I see that you've responded in the chat. Do you mind coming off mute to share and speak to that, please? Elizabeth is like, really, Nicole?
Hi.
You're going to put me on blast like that? Oh, I see you, Elizabeth. What's up, Elizabeth?
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, do you mind sharing how 6 and 7 have improved for you?
Yeah, so, I mean, at this point, initially I didn't have enough devices for all of my students. There were some being repaired, and then I had a huge population increase. So I did end up getting, a lot of devices back that were needing a repair. I got devices from the gap order. And so I was able to get that out, just kind of going in and having myself and teachers calling the parents. A lot of it had to do with a language barrier. I guess they didn't understand some of the paperwork, depending on what language it was. And so we made sure to directly contact them. So almost everybody has a device at this point. Maybe 1 or 2 though.
I really appreciate you sharing that, Elizabeth. And the piece as far as the language barrier, making sure all of our families and caregivers are aware of that. Keep in mind, we have so many languages translated in that paperwork. So, in the future, keep that in mind. But thank you for letting me put you on blast, and you represented well. All right, so we're going to continue on. I'm going to pass it now to my colleague, Elliot. And Elliot, I think you are up. Jane, thank you for driving it for me.
Thank you, Nicole. So now let's take a look. You've reflected on what went well in those first 30 to 60, 90 days. So let's take a look at the top pain points that you might have run across in these 30, 60, 90 days and our current 90-day items. So think about these and prepare to rank them in order or need at this point in time. So you've got your top 30 pain points, 30 days pain point. You've got your 60 days top pain points, and then current items that we're looking at for 90 days.
All righty. So I'm going to go ahead and flip that on over to, I'm going to present this now for you. Let's see what you have to say. So Mentimeter, let's put that link there in the chat. It's there for you.
Thank you, Steve.
Fantastic.
So let's go ahead and see if we can rank these.
Where are
Take your
you
top
now?
3. Go ahead, Jane. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say, take your top 3 pain points, punch those in, and let's see where we end up with.
Righty. I think we're all thinking out there. Let's see. This is what it should look like for you. Go ahead and drop down and choose them. Rank them there on the screen. All right, there we go. We've got some for you.
All right, coming in first, it looks like 60-day accidental damage to device. Warranty repairs coming up quick.
All right. Well, it looks like accidental damage isn't changing. So tell us a little bit about that. And what are some tips you might have for us, Elliot?
Well, I think it's all about some good digital citizenship and having those students have a good sense of ownership over the devices. We can't hammer enough about the student tech teams helping out as well. They're an integral component to really getting those devices in for tier 1 support and then moving them through the system as quickly as they can. I see power adapters are popping up there as well. Those I think we all face that issue with the power adapters. I think it's very important, again, to maybe have those power adapters kept at home so that we know exactly where they're at. And then we've got lost or stolen devices again. I think that as fourth, I think that also speaks to the digital citizenship and that sense of ownership over that device.
And I also have a wondering, Elliot, about the warranty repair needed. You know, we've had some questions come through on warranty. We've changed to a different warranty strategy as well. So any tips or anything that we can add about the warranty repair?
Sure. Great question, Jane. I think that not holding on to all these devices at once, maybe take a couple, 3 to 5 at a time and send them in. I would not let them all stack up at once because that's just going to gum up the works. And you sending in 15, 20, 30 items at once, that's really not going to help with getting those devices back as quick as possible. So 3 or 5 at a time, that makes a lot more sense. Maybe a once a week assessment on how many you have, or once every 2 weeks, depending on your breakage. Yeah. So excellent question, Jane.
Thank you. Any other thoughts come to mind from our team that they'd like to share on any of the top 3 or 4 that we're seeing there before we move on? Or from the those who are here with us today, any questions that come to mind?
Anyone want to put something in the chat?
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and close out of this one. I'm gonna head back to our screen here, and we do have there for you our Q&A. So feel free, anything that has come up for you that's one of those pain points or whatnot. I mean, it looked like for increase in enrollment, you have put in your gap orders, so that's a good thing, and you've been notified and the devices are going to be coming your way. We do have Nicole talking about digital citizenship and ownership. Yeah.
Excellent.
Periodic checks. Yeah, absolutely. All righty. So one thing just to really consider is that the 30, 60, 90 in the toolkits is really there for you to gauge where were you, where are you at, and where are you going. And so it looks like a lot of you are on a great trajectory for this. It looks like some of those 60-day items are still kind of a few little pain points. So those are going to start to linger. Please connect with us, connect with your teams, your school teams, come up with your strategy, and know that we are here for support as well. So any last tidbits before we move on from the team? All right. We actually want to get you into some breakout rooms and digging in together and getting some conversations going. So I'm going to pass this on over. Thanks so much, Nicole and Elliot. I'm going to go ahead and pass this on to Carla.
All right. Thanks so much, Jane and team. Okay, let's move on into our last section for today, and it's going to be all about inventory best practices. And this section is really designed to support our 30, 60, 90 hot topics that we were just discussing. So we have 2 focus points in this section, and the first one will be element 4, consistent access, and we'll also be focusing on element 1, which is all about the leadership team. So understanding the importance of our IT leadership at the district and also at the school level, and how you collaborate with school leaders. This section is really going to focus on the collaboration between professional learning and IT and how we can best support inventory best practices. All right, so keep in mind that we have a mid-year inventory that is going to be due on December the 16th, December 16, 2022. So your VILS district point of contact will be providing you with access to the file within the next few weeks and will partner with you throughout the process of completing the VILS inventory report. So once you receive the inventory, you'll see that there are 4 main slides that you see displayed on the slide that you see to focus on, and you'll see some specific directions, and they're designed for clarity and also to support you through the process. So on the first one at the top left, you'll see the device count. It's will partially be filled out by VILS, and it'll partially be filled in by you. You'll notice that there's a lost and stolen count, which is exactly what it reads. There's also going to be a repair and replacement count. And then we also have a section for a day user rate if you have students who need to borrow devices during the school day. And ultimately, we hope that the intent that you have is to have those students taking those devices home so that there's equitable access and that that's at the forefront. So our next activity is designed to reflect on current practice. As you explore the inventory slides more deeply, we want you to have time to process and also to reflect with your colleagues on the call. And there are 4 questions that we'd really love for you to reflect on. And they are listed on the slide. So let's just run through them really quickly. The first one is, what inventory management system do you use? So think about your inventory management systems. There are a lot of different ones out there. Who can access the data from that inventory management system? Do you have all of the right players at the table, or do you have the right people on the bus with access to that inventory management system? Think about people at both the school level and then also at the district level. And then who are the collaborators that will fill out the inventory document for VILS? Will that be school-based IT in collaboration with teachers, with coaches at the school? So think about the collaborators at the school level and also where you might be able to get support from your district with completion of the inventory document. And then number 4, in what ways do you use the data from the inventory to inform next steps? How are you using the data about stolen devices, lost devices, repairs? So who follows up after the inventory report is complete? Who owns those next steps, both at the district level and also at the school level? So to facilitate this, we are going to explore the inventory slides, and we want you to have time to process and reflect with your colleagues on today's call. So on to the next, the breakout rooms, and we'll talk about that. So your breakout rooms and slides will be found in the digital handout link as link 8. So you'll see those questions. And you can also access it in the chat as well. So with no further delay, we will open the breakout rooms. And when you see the join button, please select it and enter the room. And if it doesn't show, one of our team members will assist you with getting into a room, and we have set aside 5 minutes for discussion. So at this time, feel free to join your breakout room.
Here we go. Breakout rooms are opening. About another 30 seconds before everybody's back, and then we'll get started. Think about who's going to share out from your breakout room. Give us a few good nuggets. All right. Thank you, everybody, for sharing and exploring those questions as a group. Sorry for those who might have been paused right in the middle of a conversation. So, Carla, we're going to have us go ahead and start sharing out. So feel free. Which one would you like to share?
All right. So thank you so much. Let's have breakout room number 3 share out first.
All right. Who's number 3? Well, that's okay. Let's go ahead and just have someone share.
Yeah, let's have someone share out.
Okay, I was going to say that.
I saw your hands up. Come on, Alan.
I didn't know what breakout room I was in. Well, I was talking to my partner, and we collect that information centrally here at the district office. When an iPad is broken, the teacher fills out, or the person at the school, the tech person at the school fills out a help desk ticket. And then when we receive the iPad, the technicians here at our school, they fill out a Google form, which feeds that information to our main inventory spreadsheet. And so like we're C6 and C7. So our C6 iPads now have 4 columns of damage or issue columns, or lost or stolen. And so it keeps a running record of what's happened to that iPad over the years. And then on the first tab of that spreadsheet, it collects all the data. It's like a little dashboard for each school, where they can see right there, you've had, 18 cracked screens, you've had 3 dead batteries, and so forth. And I made it based on the information that you guys want to collect. So then our VILS coaches, they have access to those spreadsheets, and they can just reference that information right there to fill out their slide deck.
Fantastic. So great cross collaboration. That's great.
Yep.
All righty.
All right. So let's have breakout room number 5.
Carla, was that me?
Yes.
Okay. At Jefferson County Public Schools, we're 2 C9 schools were the first ones to have Chromebooks. Everyone else has iPads. So we're actually piloting a new inventory system called Incident IQ. So that's our official inventory system, but we also use a Google Sheet that has all of the kids, the grade level, the asset tag, when the parents signed the end user agreement and when the device was actually given to them. And I collaborate with my school technology coordinator, who also keeps track of all of the damages, all of the students that have reported lost or stolen devices. Most of the time, those lost devices are recovered, but she keeps a running tab of all of the money that is being, tallied up on repairs as well. We do plan to, we're going to work with our district, of course, but our IT team is awesome at the district as far as helping us figure all that out. And we do plan on having like a mini device check-in overall school-wide, just to catch those kids who are keeping their Chromebooks at home for entertainment purposes.
Fantastic.
All right. Thank you. All right. And let's hear from breakout room number 1.
Okay, I'm going to put another colleague I've just met on blast, and that is Miss Patton Roby. Did I pronounce it correctly? Peyton Roby.
Peyton Roby,
yes. Could you please share, because you shared great stuff as well as Mr. Brown did. So please go ahead.
Okay, so we use a SIAM ticket system. We have 3 schools that are Verizon school, and all three schools, they do something a little bit different. We have one school where the teachers put in the tickets, and then we make use of the library media specialist there also, where they put in the ticket, the student bring down the device, and it is housed in the library. Our IT come in and assess it and determine, what repairs need to be done. Once repairs are finished, it works back in the reverse. We have another school where the dean of students is very pivotal in the process, and another school we have teacher tech liaisons in every school, so they're also in one school, get the tickets, and they also put in the tickets. They also house the devices and work with the coach to help get it to the IT person, and then it works in reverse and getting it back to the students. We also have check-ins, surprise check-ins, just to make sure kids have their device, to make sure that they're prepared, that things are charged up. Some schools have like incentives for the kids to make sure that they're prepared. And also one of the things that we did this year in one of the schools, to handle one of the things that we found out last year, that a lot of the power cords were missing. So we had one of our coaches, she actually tagged the device along with the power cord that had the student information up there as well. So we're hoping to see, what that's going to look like at the end of the year, to see if it does make an impact in helping us keep track, and students keep track of the power cords.
That's great. A lot of great strategies.
Definitely. So thank you so much to all of our presenters for summarizing the great conversations and collaboration and all the learning that took place. And so I will toss things back to Jane for closing and next steps.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. I think, when we talk about the strength of all of you and the room being the smartest person in the room is the room, and so appreciate your insight. And also hope that the format provided you an opportunity to dig in a little yourselves, and then also do some sharing too. So we're going to go ahead and close out and discuss some next steps. And the great thing we have coming up for you is a free opportunity for your VILS schools and your non-VILS schools. I know we talked about this a little bit last time. This is just a refresher reminder that in your digital handout, you do have available the link and information on the VILS, the Verizon Innovative Learning and Digital Promise Together, the Elevating Innovation Conference. And then on the next page is just a QR code and the URL again that you can share for folks to sign up as well. Free to attend, anyone. They can go to any amount of sessions that they would like, but just want to make sure that you had that available to you. Next thing is we are going to put the attendance link in the chat. We want to ensure that we get your feedback. It's really important to us that these sessions meet your needs. So that was one of the big reasons why we're changing the attendance document to the end, so that we actually hear from you about how your experience was today. And that is number 10 there on your digital handout. And the link is being provided there to you in the chat as well. So as I continue to just kind of give you the final blurbs on what's happening and next steps, feel free to open that attendance form and start to fill that out. While I just give you a couple just last second reminders here, and then we'll move on. So again, just as Carla talked about earlier, and we've been discussing the inventory report, and you had such great ideas, you're well on your way to success with that. Wanted to make sure you had a preview of those slides, and it will be due December 16th. And again, that new data is coming out in the next few weeks and this month, and to make sure that you can meet that goal of December 16th. So we'll be collaborating with you on that as we go. So your VILS contact will make sure that you have access. And as always, whether you have new folks coming on board at any point in time, you never know what happens during a school year. We want to ensure you have all the tools available to you. That means your implementation guides. That means your rollout webinar handouts, the IT boot camp. Anything you need is here in that digital handout from today's IT monthly meeting. And of course, we look forward to seeing you at our December IT Monthly Leader Meeting. It's actually going to be combined, and it's going to be on December 8th, and it's going to be combined with our IT Monthly and the National Leader Call. And it's going to be all about the cross-functional teams. And there's going to be, sessions for everyone, whether it's teacher, coach, liaison, district leader, district IT leader, school-based IT. There's going to be sessions for everyone. So you're going to be getting emails about that and reminders. So please pass on that information. Our hope is to combine, not have a separate meeting for you, but to have you attend the session. The first one, we're going to be talking about cross-collaborative data usage. And that's going to be our kickoff. And that's really that focus for our leaders. And so we will make sure that there are any of the links. We'll make sure any of the links inside our handouts are all fixed and updated for you. And if you have any questions for us at all, feel free, add them in the chat. We love hearing your voice today and you sharing in the chat, sharing in the VILS community. And feel free to finish up your attendance form and have a wonderful afternoon if you're ready to drop off. Otherwise, go ahead and add some questions in the chat or go ahead and come off mute. But thanks so much, everybody. It's great to see you.